In this video, we will bring the data actually into our Excel spreadsheet, and we will do some summary information at the bottom and wrap things up in terms of this script. So what we've done at this point is we've got ourselves all set up so that, and we're just going to walk through the script and get down to the point where we are ready to bring the data in. So what's happened now is here we set up our record set, pull the data in, and now what we're doing is we're testing to see if there are records in there or not. Now you'll notice when I mouse over this piece of the code right here, it says the record count is 24 in the record set. So we have 24 records that are going to be pasted in when we move forward. If that was 0, we're going to tell the user that there is no data retrieved from the database. And we won't go through with all of this summary information. But since there is data to be worked on, we're going to finish this process out. So for the record set, we move to the last record, and we want to be able to find out how many records that are in there. In other words, we want to be able to take our record count and we want to record that so that we'll be able to use that, and then we'll move back to the first record. So right here again, as we mouse over, right here record count is 0, but as soon as I advance down through there, then the record count will be 24 because that's what we put in there. All right, and then this would move it right back to the top of the record count, and then we're going to determine where our last row will be. Well, since we started right here in line 4, what we can do is we can take the record count and add 4, and then that will tell us where our total row is going to need to be, the row that's below the data that we import. So I created a variable called total row here, which just is going to help me down here as I go do some work in the summary, and I put a variable up here and declared it so that I would be able to use it. And so now total row is going to be having 28 in it. So if I mouse over that, total row is going to be 28, which will be the first row below the data that we import. And then this is where we're going to actually bring the data in. So right now it's in our record set, but we haven't pasted it in. So we're saying go to A4, copy it from the record set. Here's the record set we're going to do, and it's going to come in. So let's do that now. So when we do that, then here comes the data in, and it's brought in. You can see here that the one below it is going to be 28, which is the same as total row. And so now what we want to do is we just want to do some things at the bottom here. We'd like to sum up the number of invoices. We'd like to be able to sum the total sales and figure out what our average sales are, and put some underlines here and just make it look, and put the word totals down here so that we can do this. And so what we're going to do first, what we have is we're setting these range properties to things. So we're going to set the border for, here's total row, so B28 to D28, we're going to put across the top, we're going to have a continuous line. So let's advance. So now we have a continuous line above our total row right here. Now we're going to want to put a double line at the bottom of that. So instead of a continuous, we put a double line down here. And so we'll do that. So now we have our double line down there. We want to put our word totals in here. So that's what this line does. It says go to A28, and for the value of that, put some spaces in here. So we've got some leading spaces, then put in the word totals in there. So we're going to do that. So now we have that in here. And now we need to do our little sum or our averages for these values right here. And we're going to use formulas in here. So here's a formula method that we can put a formula behind. And what we'll do is we can sum B4. So we're going to go over here and we'll sum starting at B4, go all the way down to 1 above total row. And so if we go back over here, then what we're doing is we're saying sum B4 to total row minus 1. So that's going to be 28, minus 1 will be 27, and then put it right in here. So if we do that now, so that did the sum of this area up here. We do the very same thing for the next line where we want to sum the total invoices, the total revenue, if you want to think about it that way. That brings that in and puts it in. And then we also want to be able to get the average here. Now, we can't just use formula average. We can't just, instead of using sum, we can't just say equals average, because you can't take averages of averages when each average is calculated based on a different number of observations. That would give us a screwy number, an incorrect or incorrect number. So a better way to do this then is we have these in our database, or excuse me, we have these in our spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and just divide 412 into 2328.6. We know these are good numbers, and then that will give us our average. And so that's what I did right here. So take the total row for C, divide it by the total row for B, and put it in there. So let's do that now. So now this is good. So this is a correct average, correct totals. If you look over here, you'll see that we have, some of these have, this is $195.10, but it hasn't been formatted. There's $190.10. And then we also have a lot of trailing digits after 2 places after the decimal. This is currency, and these digits after 2 points are really not something that we want to have overwhelming the user. It's just really not helpful. So we really would like to take this range of cells now and just format them, put a $sign in the front of them with a space, and then format them so there's 2 digits after the decimal. And so that's what this line down here does. What this does is it takes from C4 to D4, so that's going to start up here at C4, and it's going to go down to D4, or excuse me, D total row. And what that will do is that will take everything including these totals, and then we're going to apply this number format that I've put in here, which is a $sign with a space, and then we want 2 digits after the decimal point. So let's go ahead and execute that line now. And so that did that and got that all done. All right, so now we have a nice looking port that, whenever we want, many times a day or every day or whatever, we can just hit the refresh data. I just haven't hooked up the script to this button yet, so let's do that now. So we'll come up here and we'll assign the macro, and we have our script is called refresh data, and then that will do that. And so every time that's clicked now, it will refresh that data. Oh, I'm still in break mode, so it's not going to let me do it while I'm still debugging the script. But it's okay. We'll get out of that quick enough. Here we are. We just haven't quite wrapped up. And it's a good reminder, too, because what needs to happen next, we've done all of our chores here, but what we haven't done is we need to kind of do some house cleaning, just clean up our stuff out of memory. We want to close up this record set, and we're going to get rid of it out of memory. And so by setting that equal to nothing, that just dumps it out of memory. We'll do the same thing. We'll say we don't need to store the name of the sheet or the book. So these will all be set to nothing, and that will release this memory from the system, so it doesn't have to hold on to those kinds of things. So by finishing out the script, it will just release all of those resources, and now we're done. All right, so now, just to test it and make sure the button works, we'll go down here and we'll delete these things, entire row. So we're back to the beginning, and then now we'll do it, and it does it, it populates it. And so as many times as we need to, we can update this many times a day if we want to, or every day, whatever the case may be.